Hello, everyone. I'm DearMYRTLE, your friend in genealogy, but you know this channel's all about making mini journals to tell an ancestral story, one anecdote at a time. So I did succeed in making the cover buttons stick. I had to use a hot glue gun, and I'm going to keep it in one of the unused bathroom drawers so that I can plug it in there. I have just too much paper and other stuff all over my desks here in my craft room. And starting a fire is contraindicated, in my opinion. Okay, so what is ephemera? This is all ephemera. All these little things that we've added in addition to the cards that came with the kit. Now, this is the Stamperia Garden kit, and we are working on basically the 6x6 because there are 4 cards that have this beautiful journaling page. And we did succeed in creating a tuck spot here and elsewhere in this book on a page that is a collage. But let me talk to you about this. We've added one journaling card, and let's say that we just take one of these other, here it is, it's spring. That looks interesting, but there's an old concept here about too much is happening on that page. Let me show you what would happen if we just insert a little teeny bit of tea-dyed coffee or coffee-dyed paper. Okay, what if we just did it like that? Just to make, we're not totally losing the collage underneath, but it makes it easier to see. It's adding a different level of interest. So I'm going to actually adhere that there. It will improve that tremendously. Now I like to have the paper torn and not too rigidy because this is a small journal. I love to do small journals. Let's be sure this is the right one as opposed to this one, which is longer. Yeah. Now I want to talk to you about the glue I'm going to use. This is very thin copy paper that you would put in a typical printer. It has changed somewhat and is in fact a little thicker because I did the coffee dyeing and then ironing it. It's about the only kind of ironing I do. If I were to use fabric tack, it would go down pretty well. If I were to use my PVA glue, this is very wet glue. It works fine when you're doing cardstock on cardstock. I could use my art glitter glue, but most people don't have art glitter glue. I recommend having it. So what I'm going to do is use I don't know how to say this, Yoo-hoo, I don't know, UHU stick, magic blue, goes on blue, dries clear. It's solvent free. So that means it's not going to let off certain gases that we don't want to have happen. So I'm going to pull up an old book, and you need to put 2 layers of this kind of glue. So we will do that here, partially on and partially off screen, I think, because I want to zoom in so you can see it. Oh, Mr. Myrt was so nice. He brought me a bagel this morning. It had more apples than bagel. It's all encrusted in the top. I forgot which one. We want the smaller of the 2. Okay. So basically, yep, there it is. But let's put a second layer on. And be sure to get it in the corners. And we use these old books. Now I have the hiccups so that we're not messing up our work surface. This work surface gets messy anyway. All right, so let's just put this here just so that we can have a little more definition on that page. What we end up with actually is more journaling space. All right, let's put our, there we go with our index card. You can write on the back of that. There's just tons of journaling space here. And it's spring. All right, I think that looks a lot better. And just a slight ripple. Now, what I used was this Westcott ruler, stainless steel, with a little bit of cork on the bottom. It helps it not slip around. Now, I have other items that I use. I've never, ever used this really wide and deep side of this particular ruler, but I have used this squiggly side and to tear the edge of papers, etc. This is from We Are Memory Keepers. It's called a tear guide. And the other ruler that I think makes life so much easier because you don't have to do math. When you wish to find the center of a piece of paper, this not only has the 1 through 12, but it has 0 in the middle. So all I have to do is line up the outer edges 2 1/4, and that is the exact center right there. So this is a very useful Tim Holtz ideology ruler. I have torn the edge with this, but I really prefer the metal edge. This one is a gem because I don't have to do any math. I hate to do math. I was never good in math. All right, now while we're talking about tea-dyed paper, we really do need to get some of this very busy page covered. And at this point, I'm going to actually, the cover's so bulky, I'm going to flip it around so that this is on a fairly smooth surface. Now, the page that we want to keep in its full glory is this one that says summer, that follows spring. So I have already done some preliminary work to figure out just about how wide do I need to have this paper. And I'm going to bring it down just a little bit more and up about the same. And that's about all the measuring I do. And, you know, I hate to cover this up, but it's just too busy. And it is the back of a good journaling card. So let me move this. We'll get our metal ruler. Apparently I can't speak today. And speaking is something that is sometimes welcome in a journal making, crafting video. Okay, let's see which way does this go. All right, now see how this makes this pop out because our eye isn't drawn in crazy directions because of how busy this page is. And you get to decide which pages you want to have be the focal point or the decoration. All right, so it's going to go like that. And again, we're going to use our old book and put 2 layers of this. Now, there are some people that don't use a variety of glues. They just use this. I can't even imagine it. Okay, the other thing that I want to do today is add a little bit of beadwork. And I've been doing this in, see, I've got to try to get 2, it's so sticky. Now, I can't talk and paste at the same time. This is like crazy, old Myrt. It's your journal. You get to decide. Now, I'm not standing up. I'm in my wheelchair, so I'm going to move it this way so I can try to get it fairly centered and even. And I will get I call this my wallpaper tool, because basically we're wallpapering the page with the tea-dyed or coffee-dyed paper. And literally, I just take ordinary paper. I could have sprayed on the triple thick coffee water or triple thick tea water. This one I pulled it through a 9x13 pan, let it drip off the bottom, and then I hung it over one of those old cookie sheet, not a cookie sheet, but a drying rack from the for cookies that I have to do it in my kitchen. It's just a messy process. But so now you see the idea here. We have more journaling space. We have a focal point, but it isn't bad if we add some kind of a tuck spot and insert this, because that's not too busy. We still have a focal point on that page. This has been toned down by our coffee dyed paper, and we can add some bit of ephemera here. So let's see what we might put there. Might just put just that. And I'm only going to glue it. I'm not going to make it a tuck spot. This is going to be a very simple thing. Now, I am basically putting cardstock on cardstock that's been covered with a little bit of this coffee dyed paper. So I can go to my art glitter glue or my PVA glue just fine. So I use the drier glue, this glue stick, when it's just paper on paper. There's no ripples or bubbles or anything. Okay, let's put this right here. Let it overlap slightly. There we go. And that will be just fine. All right. So the beading that I want to do is not unlike what I experimented with on another journal I'm working on. This is the journal. Whoops, there goes our glue. And I have at the bottom a number of these fabric edges that have little beads on them. It's just to add interest and to be different. Okay, so we're going to try, because these are very short tails on these little borders. This was part of our spine making project. All right, so I'm going to go here, and we have a sort of a problem in doing it the way I'd planned. And I'll show you why. I had planned to fold this in half and stick the bead through it. But what's going to happen when I get the bead right up there? It's going to make it harder for us to turn the pages. So if I want to insert a bead, I really need, because I want the pages to be able to lay flat for journaling. Okay. Now we're going to go like this. Okay, what I've done is I'm planning, I'm going to put the bead here where I have two cuts. I've cut this entire strip just up to this point in half so that it will not affect the opening, the flat opening of these two pages. Okay, now I have a number of beads that I've been looking at, and I really like this kind of a creamy blue colored, very sweet little blue. Let me put that back so I can find it later. All right, so what we have to do is thread the bead, and this is a fairly big bead. I had to go to the children's department at Walmart to find this. The other beads that I have have too small of an opening to be threaded on this way. I'd have to use them with wire or silk thread, and I'm not planning to do that. Oh dear, I know how to do this. Anyway, I'm using my, there we go. Okay, this is so short that I either have to glue that bead in place or tie a knot. And to tie a knot and have it be effective, I need one thread out, one side out and one side in. So I shall do that. One side out, one side in, going through that. All right. There's not enough for me. These just aren't long enough. Just are not long enough. So that idea is not panning out. I will have to use something to attach it, and I have another idea. Over here, let's see if we can get this on. I have this. It's a different kind of a safety pin. It's not very safe, but it's good for putting embellishments on journals. And any kind of ephemera or found objects might work. Hopefully, yeah, it fits. Now that's our plan. Let me put it here so you can see it better. Okay. So we'll put the bead down in that area. So what we shall do, this can go anywhere, is we will open the little safety pin clasp and just pin this right here. And I'm putting it on the first, oops, there you go. So now we have a bit of something hanging down. Now, if I had cut these about half again as long, instead of making them short, I would have been able to do the tying like I did on the other journal. Let me show you again what that other journal looks like. Because there's, more than one way to skin a cat. You never know. You never know. Okay, here's an example. What have I got that I can take the back of this card that Heather made me? Gorgeous, gorgeous card. But as you see, we've got 2 beads and we've tied a knot, and then I have further cut fringe basically on each side with the fabric, just to make that an interesting embellishment. So there's embellishment and ephemera. Ephemera is usually things like old book pages and lace and buttons and silk flowers, etc. Lots of ideas, but that's that journal. Let's get back to ours. Okay, so that looks intriguing. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be cutting the tops off. Not positive, but you never know. And let's go through the journal just one more time, because I think there's another page. Oh, I like that we did this. I really do. Okay, now this is pleasing to me because we've got our journaling space and we have an interesting design in this collage. And I just love this Stamperia cardstock, double-sided. Okay, here we've got some of that busy collage cardstock. We did make a tuck spot here, but we haven't figured out what to insert in it. Now, if we were to look at the Stamperia things, another thing we could do would be when we make an insert, it could be the solid color instead of using the tea-dyed paper. Or we could make it just like the other one with just a strip of tea-dyed paper to make it interesting. You get to make these choices, and sometimes there's just no right or wrong. It's just what you feel like doing. Okay. Let's see what other colors we have, if there's any other solid colors in the set. Okay, not solid. but cool designs. We could use this for tucking in. Let's do that. Oh, look at, oh, every page I just love. Oh, I can't decide. All right. The reason I'm picking this is that it's very light color. It may still be too busy. I honestly don't know until we actually cut this up. So let's go for it. All right. I'm going to cut through here and cut across here. I want to preserve that stamp. I love old stamps. All right, now, first of all, we got to get it to fit inside, and I'm not sure if we're there yet. Oh, it fits perfectly. Is there enough definition? I think so. Wow. Okay, now the back side is not something we can journal on. No problem, we've got a fix for that. Let's do it. Let's take a little bit of tea-dyed paper and put it on the back. I'm also going to have to make this a little more square. Apparently I was a little wonky there. And as always, I'm going to fix the corners. I always like corners to be rounded. Now I'm using this crocodile 1/4 inch. You don't have to have a crocodile. There are individual punches that you can get for just a few dollars. This helps me when I have a lot to do, and of course I kind of do this not exactly for a living, but yeah. Okay. All right. So to make space to journal, let's figure out how far in we want this to go. I'm going to say about there. Okay. Let's get our metal ruler. And we have to tear this. And in order for me to get this straight, what I do at the bottom is I line this up in my grid, and then I line this up in the grid below it. But I have to do it off screen because I'm kind of zoomed in. Where's my fold? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So I'm lining it up on the grid, the horizontal grid. Now I'm lining my ruler up on the horizontal grid. I could pick up my, there we go, I'm almost there. I could pick up my little cutter. Oops, apparently I didn't go high enough. You know, you do this every day for an hour or 2 or 3, and then you're on camera and you're like klutzy. No, that's me. Maybe not you. You could probably do way better. But I digress. Okay, now let's see. How far do we need to go here? Because I'd like that design to show through, the stripey. I think that's a little short, but so I will come in a little. Okay, and part of junk journaling is not being perfect. Okay, again, which kind of glue am I going to use? Going to use the glue stick because I'm dealing with very thin, ordinary printer paper. And where's my big book? Here it is. All right, let's get the glue on the back of this baby. hard to get it on there some days. Now, I live in a dry climate, and so if the PVA glue is wet for me in my climate, it's going to be sopping wet in your climate. So trust me on that. Okay, this is tiny. I don't quite need the wallpaper tool, but there we go. Now, is that perfect? No, it's not perfectly centered, but it's perfectly fine. All right. Now, this does not have a pull tab, but I think it's okay. Don't need to put a pull tab there. Do we also need to go through here? I don't think so. I think that's distinctive enough. I think we're there. Do I want to add my garden or something like that? Yeah, probably. Or I could add it here. And let's see, I raided my kitchen and got some of this cheesecloth that we use when we're making jam. And we don't want the seeds to go through. Let me just cut off a little bit of the cheesecloth because it doesn't take up much space, but I think it will add a lot. Okay, this is so finely done. There we go. And let's pull this side up. Okay. That's what I think I shall do. Now I need to use my PVA glue because we're putting stuff on cardstock on cardstock. So first of all, I'm going to put a little bit down just to hold the cheesecloth in place. And before I do any more gluing, let me get some of my vintage photo. Boy, I sure am making a nice mess here today. The messier, the merrier. And I'm going to distress around the edge just to provide some depth. See? Look at the difference. Inked, not inked. Don't have to do this, and it doesn't have to be anything bold like black ink, but I think it does work with the grungy look of the stripe beneath it. I think that's pretty good. Oh, but all their stuff just mixes and matches so well. All right, this is not going to be a tuck spot at all, so we're going to put the glue everywhere. Okay. That's good. All right, we did a lot today. I showed you my cover, the successful placement of buttons. We figured out how to get a bead on using that set of little modified safety pins. I didn't modify them. They came that way from the factory. I bought probably have 1,000 of them. Okay, we figured out we needed to have some definition between the bits of a journaling card and a tag that are in this tuck spot. We have not embellished this tuck spot yet. What can we do? We got white. Had some pretty cool laces here the other day. Let's see. Oh, they're also pretty. But let's try this one. The reason I like this, oh my gosh, how we ever find the end, is that it has little hearts on it. And I'm a heart baby. I love little hearts. Should we just go top to bottom? Yeah, I think so. All right, I'm going to use my tiny little scissors to cut around the edge here. I keep wanting to bring it closer to me, and I'm trying to remember to stay on camera. And oh dear, the design doesn't fit top to bottom. Oh yeah, it does, if we do it right there. Okay. Now the glue that I'm going to use here, can always trim it. I think I'll go ahead and use my art glitter glue again. Oh, this is easy to tell where to put the glue. Doesn't mean I'll go any straighter than usual. Now I'm turning the heart that way. Do I want it this way? No, I want it looking or pointing in toward the pocket opening. Man, I'm all over the place with this. Let's see what we can accomplish here. Okay, now I need to add more glue. Probably going to add some ephemera from my own stash. I'm trying to do as much as I can with every element of this Stamperia Garden pack. I just love this 12 by 12. You know, Heather likes the 8 by 8s of everything, and I can see why. But let's move it that way slightly. Okay, I'm going to trim this later when things dry. But we're getting there. I think it needs something else, but I can't think of what it would be right now. So that's enough for today, I think. I hope you're enjoying this series. Gosh, this is such gorgeous paper. Just absolutely yummy. And then we got to figure out what to do here on this page. It could be creative. Maybe we should do a pocket here with something you pull out this way. I don't know. We'll see what we come up with next time. Nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing and journaling, everybody. That's a wrap.